Welcome back, everyone, to Ring Rumble, and what a night it has been on Monday Night Raw. One of the most talked about moments was undoubtedly the return of Bayley, marking her reappearance not only on Raw but also in the minds of every WWE fan across the globe. From the moment her familiar ding-dong hello echoed throughout the arena, there was a sense of nostalgia in the air. The crowd responded instantly, a reminder of the affection and recognition Bayley still holds among fans. It wasn't just about a catchphrase. It was a signal that one of WWE's most important women's division figures had come back, not just to wrestle, but to reclaim her place in the spotlight. Bayley herself admitted to feeling emotional before making her return. For someone who's seen multiple WrestleManias and lived through countless chapters of triumph and adversity, missing this year's WrestleMania was not something she took lightly. It hurt, and that pain came not just from being left off the card, but from the betrayal she felt from someone she once called a peer, Becky Lynch. In a career where each match on the grandest stage matters, Bayley felt robbed of an opportunity she'd earned. She wasn't just scheduled to compete, she was thriving, particularly in her tag team work with Lyra Valkyria. After showing strong momentum during the Gauntlet match, her absence from WrestleMania didn't feel accidental, it felt intentional. What makes the situation even more cutting for Bayley is the long and complex history between herself and Becky. Once part of the famed For Horsewomen that helped elevate WWE's women's division to historic heights, Bayley saw her bond with Becky deteriorate into animosity. The unity that once bound them seems like a distant memory. Despite the shared battles, the history, and the legacy they helped build, Becky's recent actions, particularly her comments and attitude, have reopened old wounds. Bayley was candid in explaining that she's never been as close to Becky or Charlotte as she was with Sasha Banks. While Sasha was like a true sister to her, on the road, backstage, and inside the ring, her connection with Becky was always more professional than personal. They never traveled together, never built the kind of friendship that could withstand years of tension and competition. And now, all those years of unspoken tension have boiled over. For Bayley, the animosity wasn't new, but Becky's need to call her out, to diminish her publicly was. Despite the frustration, Bayley emphasized that this isn't about pettiness, it's about principle. She's tired of being walked over, tired of being called names like trash and being treated like an afterthought. And after over 12 years with WWE, 6 months longer than Becky even stepped into the Performance Center, Bayley has earned far more respect than Becky is willing to give her. So why now? Why did Bayley choose this moment to return? Simply put, she was waiting. Waiting for the right time. Waiting for Becky to let her guard down. Waiting for her shoulder to heal. Watching how things unfolded between Becky and Lyra made it crystal clear. Becky was playing games, and Bayley wasn't going to sit quietly and let it continue. When Becky was at her most triumphant, crowned the new Women's Intercontinental Champion, Bayley struck. It wasn't just revenge, it was a statement. Bayley's aggression has always been a part of her character. Whether it was cashing in on Charlotte back in 2019 to begin an unforgettable title reign, or launching the ruthless Damage Control faction, Bayley has never hesitated to go after what she wants with everything she's got. But she admits that in recent years, something had been missing. She had grown complacent, perhaps too comfortable. The WrestleMania snub reminded her why she fought so hard in the first place. It reminded her that fire still burns within. She's no longer the naive NXT Bayley Becky remembers. This version is smarter, more seasoned, and more dangerous than ever. And what of Lyra Valkyria? There was some criticism that Bayley didn't reach out to her after WrestleMania, didn't respond to her messages, and seemed to distance herself. But Bayley clarified that it wasn't personal. At the time, she needed to be alone. She needed to process the betrayal, the injury, and the missed opportunity. As much as she enjoyed teaming with Lyra, and truly believed they had something special, it was never about Lyra. It was about something much deeper. Lyra, as talented as she is, couldn't possibly understand the depth of the rivalry between Bayley and Becky. Not yet, at least. One day, Bayley hopes she will. And in a surprising twist, even Michael Cole, someone who's often been critical of Bayley, finally had something positive to say. He acknowledged that Bayley made a lot of sense in her promo, a statement that even Bayley herself couldn't believe at first. But she welcomed it, pointing out that Cole, having seen and heard it all over the years, is smart enough to recognize authenticity when he sees it. He knows who the snakes are and who the real ones are too. Over the course of her 12-year journey in WWE, Bayley has done it all. She's held multiple championships, main event shows, and participated in some of the most memorable matches in women's wrestling history, including the iconic showdown in Brooklyn, still regarded by many as a top 5 WWE match of all time. But despite all her accomplishments, motivation can sometimes be hard to come by when you've already reached the summit. That's why this moment, this rivalry, matters so much. It's not just about the Intercontinental Championship, although Bayley certainly wouldn't mind adding that to her resume. It's about proving herself again. Proving to Becky, to the fans, and most importantly to herself, that she still belongs at the very top. That she can still make magic. That she still has stories to tell and fights worth fighting. In her words, the championship is just a cherry on top. What truly fuels her now is redemption. She wants to send a message, not just to Becky, but to the entire division. This isn't about being the nice one anymore. This is about showing grit, aggression, and years of experience. She wants to spark something bigger, a resurgence in the division, a hunger in the locker room, a fire that pushes the women of WWE to fight harder, dream bigger, and never settle. As for the Intercontinental title itself, Bayley believes it's in a strong position already. She credited Lyra for being a phenomenal inaugural champion and praised the quality of matches during the tournament. But now, it's time to elevate that title even further. And nothing elevates a championship like a white-hot rivalry between two veterans who know how to deliver inside and outside the ring. If Bayley versus Becky becomes the defining feud for this belt, she's more than okay with that. In fact, she welcomes the challenge. Next week, the battle lines are drawn. Bayley versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. But more than a title is on the line. This is about legacies, grudges, betrayal, and pride. It's about two of the most accomplished women in WWE history stepping into the ring, not just to win, but to settle a score that's been simmering for years. As the interview wrapped, Bayley reflected on how every chapter in her career has led to this moment. From her bubbly NXT days to her darker, edgier turn in Damage Control, and now into this new era, she's constantly evolving, constantly turning the page, constantly redefining what it means to be Bayley. And that's what makes her so compelling. Through Triumph A.